So how would you feel if I said we're going to spend the next few minutes mingling? You're going to get up from your seat, you're going to go in the back and meet somebody you didn't come with, you don't know. You're going to do the exact same. How would that make you feel? Anybody get excited about that? Not so much. Anybody maybe throw up in their mouth just a little bit at the prospect of that? Right, exactly. Now, what if we changed it a little bit? We said, you are actually going to get the opportunity. You're going to go in the back, and guess who's back there? Somebody you went to high school with, a college roommate, or maybe a favorite coworker at your last job. How would you feel then? Maybe a little bit different? Why do you think that is? Somebody said, no, not really. Why do you think that is? In this second scenario, there's a feeling of connectedness. There's shared experience. It's not meeting with a stranger. How do we make the first scenario feel like the second? There's an author, there's a book out there by Adam Grant, and it's called Give and Take. And in that, he discusses different types of personalities. Givers are exactly what you might think. They give of themselves, they donate their time. There's actually 3 different ways, if you think about it, 3 things you can do to give. Time, talent, treasure. Tonight, we're going to focus only on time and talent. Why? Because everybody has time. Everybody has some form of talent that they can give. Treasure, maybe people are not in the position to do that, and that's okay. There's still ways that they can give. So Adam Grant discusses in this book, he actually highlights a particular person which I felt I related to to a degree. He described him as basically looks like an everyday guy on the sideline of a soccer field. And I can relate. I've spent thousands of hours on sidelines of soccer fields watching our daughter play soccer. So what was interesting about this particular character, his name is Adam Rifkin, and he basically said, he looks very unassuming, but it turns out he is a major, major influencer in Silicon Valley. Doesn't look the part. How did he get there? By being a giver. Now, the 3 types of people that are referenced in this book are givers, takers, and matchers. So a matcher, if you think about it, it's, well, I'll give a little bit, but I'm expecting to get a little bit back for what I give. We're going to talk about the ramification of that. So the key here is to try to figure out how we get that connectedness so we don't feel like we're among strangers. About 5 years ago, I was in Vegas, Las Vegas, for a conference. Now, it wasn't my first time in Vegas. I've been there many times. Actually, I was quite comfortable. I enjoyed it. It almost felt a little bit like a homecoming for me. I would see people from my industry and always enjoyed it, and we had a great time. We conducted business, and we had a lot of fun. It was always a time I looked forward to. But this one was different. This time was different. I was going to an event I had never been to before. I was going for my company. I wanted to kind of get out of my comfort zone, which is a whole separate talk if you care to go there. We got there in that event. I was by myself, by the way. Cross country by myself. And I was feeling really good about it. I was motivated. I was prepped for this conference. I had my suit on. I had my lanyard with my name on it, my company. I was excited. I remember going down the escalator and then going to the entrance of the room. It was a room much like this, maybe a little bit bigger than this one. And I just remember standing at the doorway and not knowing a single soul. So I did what we usually do when we're uncomfortable, right? I pulled out my phone. I started staring at it. But then I got smart. I called my wife. And I said, you're not going to believe this. I'm at this event. I don't know a single person. I just kind of want to go back to my room. She said, is there a bar? And I said, there is. She said, go get a drink, go right to the bar, get a drink, and then do what you do. And what I do, it usually does work out, get thrown in those situations. Now, to be honest, I really don't remember the rest of that evening, and I know what you're thinking. I don't believe it has anything to do with the amount of drinks that I had that evening. It was just a blur. But here's what I do remember. A few months later, I got a phone call, and it was to join a council for that very group. The group is called CompTIA. It's a global IT community organization. I was given an opportunity to join a council to take a leadership role. I jumped on it. Again, didn't know a whole lot of people, but I thought, I'm going to take this opportunity. This right here, this picture was taken last week. In this picture, we were announcing globally the one of the assets that we just produced, which is a list of emerging technologies, global emerging technologies. That group that I was so afraid to walk into a few years back, I now have the honor of being on the executive council, and I'm the chairperson for the emerging technology community. And I even dragged, in the upper right is a friend of mine, I dragged her from that other industry that I was so comfortable with, I brought her along with me. So by getting a little bit uncomfortable and giving, just giving of my time through the years, people were willing to throw more opportunity, to a point now that I have a seat that I so don't deserve. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to make the most of it. There are way more deserving people. But because I gave, and I gave till it hurts, because it does hurt if at times, it will potentially cannibalize other things that you could be doing. But there is a payback for it. I'd like to introduce you to a few folks here. The gentleman on the right is a friend. His name is Mukesh Patel. Mukesh is now a professor at Rutgers University, and I met him just along the way, just one of my travels in business. And one time when I was reaching out to him, just because that's what I do, when I meet somebody, I connect with them through one of these giving opportunities, I stay in touch with them. I reached out to him one time, and he said, hey, Greg, I'm getting some colleagues up here. We're going to have maybe kind of a think tank. Why don't you come up? Why don't you meet these guys, see what they're all about? Well, I shared it with my wife, and she was convinced that they invited me to a think tank to serve as comic relief, because I'm not a think tank type character, but I'm not really funny either. So I went just to see what would come of this. And I'm so glad I did, because from that, it deepened my relationship with Mukesh. He saw that I was willing to give my time. As a result, I was able to get a few opportunities to guest lecture at Rutgers Business School on one of the topics on strategic alliances, which is what I do by day. So that was a fun opportunity I would not have gotten had I not reached out to him and took him up on his offer. Now, I said give till it hurts. That trek took me round trip 2 ways, 2 hours up, 2 hours back on the New Jersey Turnpike. So when I say give till it hurts, if you've ever driven the New Jersey Turnpike, you know exactly what I'm referring to. But the other really good thing, the reason I'm glad I did that, is I got to meet the gentleman on the left. Sanjay, at this time, by the way, I was between jobs. I was consulting. That's what people, when they consult, they're between jobs. I was between jobs, so I had the time to dedicate to this. Sanjay was also consulting, but I felt a connection. I was impressed by his background, his vision. I knew he was going to go places. Well, interestingly, I've stayed in touch with Sanjay as well, and you can see here, this meeting occurred maybe a month ago, and Sanjay is now the Chief Information Security Officer for Vonage, which is one of the major communication companies in the industry. So, pretty good friend to have. Now, this doesn't only apply to business. It also applies to everyday life. Now, I am proud to announce that my kids are both in college now, so my wife and I are fresh empty nesters. So we started to think, okay, what are we going to do this winter? Let's do something fun. So we're going to go away for a little bit. I told my wife, pick a time, you go do your thing, I'll do mine. She's notorious for spending 7 days researching an overnight stay. So she went to do that. She's doing the Airbnb, she's doing the Vrbo. Instead, I do what I do. I went to LinkedIn. I went and looked at my connections. Who do I know in Florida? Okay, I thought there might be a few, maybe a dozen. I had 296 first-degree connections in Florida. I didn't contact all of them, but maybe a dozen or 15 that I reached out to. Of those, this one came back that was pretty interesting. Tim Diesel, I love this. He said, "Hey Greg, I remember you trying to help me with a TED Talk last year, and that meant a lot to me. You were the only one who attempted to help me. What did that take from me? Maybe a couple of minutes, a year ago? And look at the benefit that this had. I had no idea. I forgot I even helped him with this, but I was happy to do it because it always comes back. It always comes back when you give. Giving your time, giving your talent. Even if your talent, if you view it as limited, because I don't feel like I had any major pearls of wisdom to share with him at the time, clearly it had an impact on him. And he goes on to say, the very least I can do is when you're here, I can treat you and your wife to dinner. Okay, it's crazy. It was great, it was wonderful. Those are the types of connections you make when you're willing to give of yourself, your time and your talent. Why does this matter? Go back about a couple of months, I got this message. Hey, do you have a minute? Pretty innocuous, right? That message was from my boss. My boss that never reached out to me proactively. Oh, and it was a Friday morning. Any idea what followed that message and how that phone call went? So needless to say, after that phone call, it was upon me to go and find my new source of revenue. So what do you do then? What's the next step at that point? Did I pick up the phone and call my wife to share the news? No. Not yet. It's too soon. Did I do what 250 million job seekers do every single month and go to Indeed.com to look for my next opportunity? And when I find one that I'm a perfect fit for, I apply, along with 117 other applicants, and that is a real number on average, 118 applicants per role. And then I have to convince the AI, the artificial intelligence algorithms that are reviewing my resume or application, and the recruiter that I'm the perfect person for that role. God bless. That's not what I did. I reached for my life ring. My life ring is my network that I've built by donating my time and my talent over the years, and then follow that up by nurturing it and staying in touch with people and continually engage with them. You never know what's going to come from these encounters. That life ring you will need at some point. You may as well fortify it and build your network now and continuously from this point forward. Start tomorrow morning. Find an opportunity. Find something that you're passionate about. Volunteer. Give your time. It might be 15 minutes a week. Doesn't matter. And then you will meet people and then nurture those relationships, and they become part of your posse. They are your internal group. They're the group that you turn to when you need them most. They are your life ring. I love this. Think of when a pebble strikes a lake. the ongoing effect. Just from that simple little action, it just radiates and just goes on and on and on. When you give, I'd encourage you to give and not give to get. Like in the book, the matchers. If you give to get, if you succeed, you will get exactly what you were looking for. If you give just to give, I promise you, those results, the impact of that, will be unexpected, ongoing, and perpetual. Thank you for giving your time and attention this evening.